Hello everyone, it's Julia and I'm here today with a list of my winter book recommendations. I've been meaning to film such a video for I think a fortnight already, and finally there it is. I have divided the books into a few categories, and as always in such recommendations, they are only the books that I have read and thoroughly enjoyed. Well, actually, with one exception. And this one exception comes in the first group, which is classics. And so, obviously, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens is something that I recommend reading because it's a timeless classic and Dickens is great. But personally, I still haven't started it, though it is on my TBR for this month. Of course, there will be a review when I finish it, and I must say that this is the only exception of the general rule. I only recommend what I have read. Then the other two books in this category are Christmas Eve by Nikolai Gogol and also The Fencing Master by Alexander Dumas. Oh, by the way, there should be one more book, which is The White Guard by Mikhail Bulgakov. Those are like classics, pretty famous ones, but all of them have the explicitly wintry vibes, especially, well, especially given that they are all set in winter. In The White Guard, it is simply just December. In Christmas Eve by Gogol, it is again obviously Christmas Eve, and the events of The Fencing Master by Dumas just take place in the winter St. Petersburg of the 19th century, which I personally find amazing, and the descriptions are wonderfully evocative, as always, with Dumas. Then, there are also children's books. There are 3 of those which I would recommend, which I will recommend, not would. And again, I miscalculated. There are actually 4. Well, despite the fact that I like maths, I'm kind of bad at arithmetics. Anyways, so the children's books. First, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by Clive Staples Lewis. I don't really think that this book needs an introduction from me. It is world famous and pretty everyone knows what it is about. Still, it makes a wonderful winter reading. Then Waffle Heart by Maria Parr, which is a quite short book about the eternal values, let's put it so, just about how important family is and support, and it is very warm and cozy. I read it last January and I really regretted that I hadn't read it earlier. Then number 3, Agnes Cecilia by Maria Gripe, another story coming from Northern Europe. This is a detective story for children and teens, I think early teens. Just there's a family moving into a new flat, and in this flat they find some objects that used to belong to the previous owners, and there is a detective story connected to that. I read it as a very young child, so I don't remember the particular details of the plot, but I remember that back when I was like 10, it was one of my favorite books. Then, finally, number 4, Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You a Story by Frederick Beckman. Another bestseller on my list, which hardly needs an introduction from me. Still, it is set in winter, and once again it is about family ties and, well, loss, yes, but also finding your family and friends and getting to know them better and getting closer to them. So that's a great thing to read in winter. I also have 2 fantasy books to recommend, for I'm a huge fan of fantasy. that is Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. I'm still planning to reread the other parts of the trilogy, but this thing I reread in summer. Northern Lights, set in the north, is something very cold and cozy. I count it as a fantasy book because actually, though the main character is a child, it is more of a book for adults. And the second fantasy book that I would wholeheartedly recommend reading in winter is A Winter's Promise by Christelle de Bois, which is the first book in the Mirror Visitor Quartet. This quartet is one of my favorite books of all times. It is so deeply, things are so deeply meaningful, and the writing is beautiful, and I like the world building. Well, I've talked about it in my 5 fave books to date video, but A Winter's Promise is the first book in the series where our main character has to go from her home island to another glacial island where she knows no one, and she has to somehow live there and find a new way of living. Well, she manages to do it, and the book is yet again perfect for winter. I think I should stop saying it because the whole video is meant to tell about the books that are perfect for winter. And finally, I have 2 books that don't fit into any of those categories. Those are The Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan, which I'm currently reading, which is very light-hearted and warm, yet again about family, and also there's a little bit about love, but I don't like the love interests of the main character. It definitely is very light. I'm not sure about lightweight, but nothing that would give you much food for thought. But it is warm, yep, a warm Christmas story. And for those who love something darker, more about horror, dead bodies, gruesome pictures, and so on, I have 1793, which is also published under the name The Wolf and the Watchman, as I had googled before I started filming this video. The writer is Nicholas Not a Dog, and it is a detective story set in the not 19th, set in the 18th century Sweden. It gives off a very freezing vibe. The setting is winter, and I think that is one of the best dark things that I have read in this life. By the way, it also has 2 sequels, none of which I have yet read. Nevertheless, I hope that this video was somehow useful to you. Maybe you found something that you really want to read this winter. I hope so. I also hope that you have enjoyed it. And having said that, please subscribe to my channel if you want to see me again, and bye!